follow us, it will be easier for you to approach the course and to reach your aim, your objective in with few effort. Okay, so this is today. It's an advice. Today's is let's say and help that I can give to you. But please, from the next time, be more in presence. Okay, I'm telling this for you that you are here, and I'm sure that you will continue to be here. But I told this also for the ones who will see this recording. Okay, and this is our first and last advice of this thing. If you follow, it will be easier for all of you to be clear, to do everything to be clear and to be ready to do the things that we ask during the course. Okay, another little preamble that I need to do, it's that starting from yesterday, okay, it's depends from the region of the world, it's online, the release of ArchiCAD 29. So today we will start to use ArchiCAD 29 and you have the possibility to download ArchiCAD 29. Since we didn't start almost anything, it's perfect, okay, because we have the possibility to start together from zero with the new release, okay, and we have also the possibility to work with the final version of ArchiCAD that is online and that we can learn together, okay. Some of the features that you will see that will present in ArchiCAD 29 will be seen in the course at the half of the course, okay, because we focus our attention on the documentation part, okay, and on some other little things that I will show you when we will start to document element. Okay, I'm not sharing the screen now, it's just a preamble that I am doing, okay? And I will share the screen now that I have finished. So just again to see everything, let me set up the screen, okay? And let's see. This is our ArchiCAD 29, okay? This is the new version of ArchiCAD. The only thing that you need to understand, okay, just a thing that I'm opening here. I'm set up the screen for the lesson, okay. The only thing that you need to know that it's change and that you will see as a change is that for Mac user, okay, we have the dark mode. Okay, I'm using the dark mode because I'm more accustomed to the dark mode, nothing more, nothing less. So that's why you will see that my ArchiCAD it's black rather than gray. Okay. After that, nothing has changed, and there is always improvement in the smooth of the work. So today we will start from ArchiCAD 29. I will re-upload all the materials for this course, starting into the pause that we will do in at the half of the day or the morning, and you will see that we will reach together the final setup of the thing. Okay. So let's start a new project. When you click on new project, you will see that it's crashed. Sorry, just a second, that it's starting. Okay, it's not crashed anymore. Okay. Okay. Do you see? It has a little freeze out and now it's working. We'll open this window that is the usual windows that we have already seen in ArchiCAD. Okay, it doesn't change anything. The only thing that has changed is that we have a black, let's say, visualization. Okay. Today we will start to learn how to set up a file. I repeat again these things. Every 2 weeks you need to upload the materials of the lesson that we are doing from today. Okay, so if today I will show you how to upload PDF and so on, as I have already told during the first lesson, and that will be repeated also in that lesson a lot of time, to make you the possibility to understand the thing and give us the possibility to see if you have understand all things, we will I will upload the materials of the course, and you have to redo the things that I'm doing during the lesson with the same case study that I'm using. Today, we start together. So today, what I will do, I will upload the materials of the case study on Webeep. We will see how to set up the file and how to start to model the walls. And in the next 2 weeks, okay, so always on the online presence, okay, you have to deliver the file that I have done together, okay? That's what we do. So you have 2 weeks of work. For example, today we upload the PDF, DWGs, and walls, and we do the walls and so on. Then next week we will do the slabs, beams, and column. The week next again, so 2 weeks from now, you have to deliver me a file on Webeep, and we will tell you all the things about the delivery in few hours when we will do the next lesson. The materials that of this case study on the same level of detail that I have reached, and that all the things that I have teach to you. For example, if I model only just because it's a lesson, the ground floor of the walls, obviously you do not have to do only the ground floor, but you have to model the walls of the entire project. This is very strong, helpful for you and for us, because give us the possibility also to understand if at first all of you are working on the case study, and second, okay, if all of you have understood the things, and give us the possibility to check and control the things and find the best solution for you to the work, okay? So let's start. We have this case study. I'm sorry, but I'm closing the camera because the camera is lagging me. So now I do not have any lag anymore. Okay. So what we are seeing today? Today we will see how to set up a file. Let's say that the lesson of today is one of the most important lessons that you need to follow in order to avoid the problems like I don't understand these things and I have to remodel everything. Okay. We will see a few steps to set up the file and to have a good approach at the materials, okay? And we understand how to avoid to create problems in ArchiCAD, okay? Because remember, this course, I have told you the first time, it's focused not only on the modeling, but it's strongly focused, it's almost focused on the workflow, and so on the comprehension of the correct path that you have to follow to reach the complete understanding of the file, okay? Remember that sometimes it's more important to understand the path, okay, and understanding the workflow than modeling things strictly correctly, okay? Again, this is my last time that I will tell these things. If you model perfectly your model, but I will see that something is not correctly in the documentation or it's completely avoided, you may not have to pass the exam, okay? Because they are equally evaluated. So this is the ground zero of our course, and you need to understand this thing in order to reach new height with ArchiCAD. Okay, the first and absolutely first thing that you need to see and that you need to check, it's in truth very simple. The first thing that you need to do is to understand if you are working with the correct working units. You know that in ArchiCAD we model in scale 1:1. We have already told these things, and the scale that you can see here below, it's just a representation scale. So it's long for us to, let's say, to model in scale, but we need to model in scale one-to-one in order to understand if everything is working, and to know if we are working in scale one-to-one, we need to be accustomed to the correct use of the working units. So let's see how we can set up the working units. Because of default, ArchiCAD has millimeters as default setting of the working units, and we can imagine that working millimeters on a building could be quite difficult if not accustomed to this, okay? And I may imagine that it's not something that it usually, in fact, usually the millimeters could be used or must be used for interior design or furniture design concept, okay? So, in another way, let's see how to modify. Let's go on Option, Project Preferences, Working Units. Here you set up the working units, okay? It's here that we will decide our working units. And it's here that we will focus, obviously, our attention on the changing of this kind of element. Let's start from a advice, let's say, okay? The first thing that you need to know is that usually we will change only the length working units. I usually, and I am accustomed to use the centimeter, so for the curves I will use the centimeter with 2 decimals. The area units, volume units, angle units, layout units, and so on are okay as they are, because usually if we work in centimeters, we will want to see square meter, okay? Difficult square centimeter or square millimeter. The problem is that you want to work with feet or fraction inch or decimal inch that may have to change everything. But in reality, here in Europe, you do not use inch or other kind of working unit. So let's change only the length unit, that will be the centimeters. Once you click OK, let's do some exercise to understand this kind of thing. Okay, very fast. We have seen how to use model linear tools and so on, but we will see together today. So do not be afraid if you have any doubt about this, and write me if you have any doubts about these things. Obviously, if I model a line element like this, I can write, 1000 centimeters, that is 10 meter, okay? This is an element that is long 10 meter, okay? And up to now, it's okay because I have this element that is long 10 meter. But what's happened if I change the working units? So I go to Project Preference, Working Units, and I change them from centimeters to meter. My element that was long 1000 centimeter, if I click on the Measure button, that you can access also by clicking the M button, as you can see here in the dialog box here. If I measure this element now, it's 10 meter. Okay, so when we work with ArchiCAD and we change the working units, we will not scale the work and we will not change the dimension of the project. Okay, we will simply adjust the adjust the working units to make us comfortable with our project. Okay. By knowing these things, you will see that it will be more and truly more easier to control our project. Okay? Any doubt until here? Please write me. Even if it's okay, just clearly write me okay, and for me it's good. Someone? Okay. Okay, let's go further. Once we have understand this, we have, let's say, do half of the work. Now we continue to work the course in general, but in general, the entire workflow that you will do in ArchiCAD, it's a path called cut to beam. Okay, what does it mean? It means that we start from a CAD file. Okay, so it means that we may start, for example, from an AutoCAD, sorry, file. Okay, and we will achieve, okay, a model, 3D model ArchiCAD in BIM. What does it mean, these things? It means that with this we start from PDF or whatever it will be, or DWG, and we reach the 3D model with information. Okay? Let's start from an axiom. Okay? This is a must rule and could not be changed, must be followed strictly. Okay? When we work with outside element like PDF, DWG, images, and so on, okay, you cannot place them here on the floors. If I see something like this, I'm telling you today, okay, and this is the things that I will do without any doubt. If your midterm or your final exam has a PDF or a DWG directly placed here into the stories, I close the file and for me it's not evaluable. Okay, because it means that you didn't follow nothing and that you didn't understand the thing. Okay, and it's a very, very, very bad error that must always be avoided. Why? Because positioning element on the ground floor, for example, or let's say on the other type of views like elevations and so on, create a congestion of information of element that will transform in a very difficult control of the file. Okay, and it's also a path, an element, and a construction of things that create a strong incoherence into the model. And this is the thing that we need to avoid as much as possible. Okay. And I'll let you know now how we can avoid these things. So if we cannot obviously place element on the floors or on other views, we need to place them into another things. And that place, it's called worksheets. So we create a new worksheet by clicking here on the right side of our screen, right click, new independent worksheet. This creates a new window that gives us the possibility to add elements on the worksheets, and now we will see what is a worksheet just for you to understand also how to approach to them. Okay? So, just a second, I speak too much faster. Once we have opened this window, we need to set up a reference ID and a name. For me, the coding of the name is fundamental, okay? And I will control also the coding of the name of your file because must be follow element of rules or in general an idea for your file. What do I do not want to see? For example, I do not want to see final def, definitely. This is, we finish, okay, it's surely this as name. Because it's something that at first it's not professional and give me a very difficult way to control. And second, it's something that you need to start to control from zero, okay, from today. What does it mean? It means that here that I'm going to add a logo, okay, I may call it with the reference ID, for example, L01, that is for a logo, and I can insert logo ArchiCAD. Take a look. this is my worksheet, okay? Let's see something. The first thing that we understand is that here we do not have, as you can see, the possibility to place a 3D element. Because it's like, let's say that to simplify, it's only a paper. This is just a paper, okay? It's something where we cannot model because it's like a paper that you have right in front of your eyes and you can start to drawing, okay? Here we usually place only 2D element, okay? So here it's the perfect place to create a separate world where we have the possibility to place DWGs, images, PDF, and so on. Because in this way we have two advantages. We can insert only DWGs or again 2D elements that are outside element. And other than that, we have the possibility to create a little part of archive of the project directly into the file, creating a casuality and a casition where we have the possibility to control our project. Okay? What you want to do is to have the total control of our elements, of our project, and by doing this, we are surely reach this kind of things. Now that we have created our worksheet and we see that the center of the worksheet is this X, exactly like for the ground floor, okay, and these two elements are collapsed in the same position into the file, so they have the same 00 for our project, okay, and this is another thing that it's truly strong to understand. We can start to import element in ArchiCAD. Okay, let's see what we need to do to import element in ArchiCAD. Usually I show different options, but this year, since ArchiCAD 29 gives us the possibility to have a strong control, I will want to show you just two of the elements. Usually I show 3 or 4, okay, but with ArchiCAD 29 we have a strong new path that we can choose. As you can see, this is my case study that I will give you, okay? I have PDF and I have DWGs and a PNG, okay? So what we will do today, I will show you how to import all these elements, okay? What you have to do for 2 weeks from now, it's not that you have to import the logo and so on, but you have to import all the DWGs of the floor, section, and elevation. Okay, obviously I will show you how to do these things and also how to perfectly and correctly set up in order to avoid any kind of possible error. So let's go on our worksheet, okay, and let's start to import the logo. To do this, simply drag and drop. The drag and drop is now strongly controlled, okay, and give us the possibility to perfectly import an element that is an image as a figure tool, okay, so that it's a raster image that it's controlled in terms of dimension and in terms of resolution, okay. This is the best way to optimize, let's say, and to perfectly import element like the element like this, okay? It's quite easy. You simply drag and drop the element. And by drag and drop the element, you will see that it will be quite easy. Let's see the settings by simply clicking on the button here above that opens the setup of the setting of the element, and you will see that it will control the dimension of our figure and their resolution. Higher is the resolution, little will be the image. Okay? Okay. Here Very simple. Pay attention, if you change the position of the hotspot, you will deform the image, okay? This is just an example to show you that the first approach that we can approach as I'm repeating with the ArchiCAD and with ArchiCAD and the image get could be JPEG, PNG, TIFF, and whatever it will be. It's this, to directly drag and drop into the file. Okay, quite easy. When you use image, when you do not have PDF or DWG. Let's say that import image must be your last resort, because obviously being an image, it's composed by pixel, and being composed by pixel, it's difficult to control. Okay, this is clear as the day. Okay. Now that we have to import a PDF, let's create another worksheet. And let's add a rule to the things that we have spoken up to now, okay? When I create or import something in ArchiCAD, okay, always, pay attention, always try to divide project or the element that you need to import in as much as more possible worksheet. Pay attention what I'm meaning. If I have the project with all the floors separately, for example, like in this case, I will not try to import all my different floors directly on one worksheet, but I try to set up in different worksheets to control the project, like we will see in few seconds, okay? Otherwise, if I have all the project in one single element, in one single DWG, we will see that we may approach two different options, starting from learning how to control the PDF. So, let's start now, okay? And let's understand this kind of thing. Do you have any question? I think no, because it's quite fast as a thing to understand. Okay. So let's create a new worksheet, PDF 01. This is a detail. How can I import PDF? Exactly like before. Select the PDF, drag and drop. Done. This is my PDF. Okay? You will see that now everything is set up. Okay? We have so the possibility to start and check our project. Apparently, it's like the image, so the figure, in truth, it's a figure, but pay attention. Being a PDF, okay, this element, it's not anymore a figure, but it's a drawing, and the setup is different. Okay, ArchiCAD automatically recognizes the difference between TIFF image, okay, and true image and true PDF, so document, okay, and in this way you will have the possibility to control, as it must be done, okay, our project. What is the difference between figure and image, okay, figure and document and drawing? It's that I can only scale, okay, I cannot deform them, I can scale. How to control the scale, we will see in a few seconds. Another thing that I can do is that if I click on one of this element, always then stretch the views, I can also adjust the frame. What does it mean? It means that, for example, I can temporarily hide the element, adjusting the frame of the PDF. Because the PDF is put into the drawing by simply as an image, okay, that could be modified in shape in order to reach the configuration that you prefer. Okay? It's more difficult to speak than to do. In this way, I can, for example, temporarily hide the element that I do not need to see. Focus only on the tools and on the thing that I need to understand. Okay? Just to let you know, this kind of drawing, it was created in ArchiCAD, okay? So you can see that the level of detail of the element and the precision of the lines and control of the element could be reached with ArchiCAD without any issues, okay? You will see how to add also all these things and control all of them. And this is how we can control the, again I repeat, PDF. Okay? Quite fast and easy. Now let's start with the true topic of the course and of today. That is the control of the DWG. The DWG is a new word, okay? And we will start to import our file from the floor, okay? And later I will show you what you need to control to import other kind of element, okay? In this way, you will see that you will never be in trouble, okay, with our project. So, new worksheets, DWG, okay, DWG 01, ground floor. Do you have any question up to now? Before starting with the DWG, because it's a completely different word.
I did everything by now, but I missed one thing before that. There was like switched from meters to millimeters. I think I missed that one.
Oh, simply you need to go from option, project preferences, working units, and you set up the working units that you want. Simply that. Okay? If you click on OK, it will be changed.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Someone else? Okay. Import DWG. As you can imagine, the first kind of import is drag and drop. You choose, okay, a drawing units, okay, could be meter, millimeter, custom inch, okay, inch and foot, obviously. I do not know what is the element, okay, or better, I know, and I'm wrongly use millimeter and drawing units because ArchiCAD will automatically scale in millimeter, in this case, the element, okay? And we do not know if it's correct or less, okay? It's not up to us know if the drawing is correctly set up into our DWG. So we need to do some exercise, let's say, to understand if the thing is correct. So, without any issues, let's use, usually you will use meter, but now we use millimeter, and click on place. And you will see that your drawing was passed paste, but if, and some of you could start to model. If you import the element and do not control the dimension of the element, obviously you are doing a wrong decision because this element will not reach any kind of dimension because it's not scale. So how I can check if it's scale? Take the measure tool and measure one element. You see that this wall in the reality, it will be 5 millimeter. It's possible? Obviously no. Okay? And so we need to understand how we can set up the file in order to reach a dimension that could be in scale 1:1. Otherwise, this element will be out of scale. Okay? So let's start doing this in a very fast way. When I need to scale an element in ArchiCAD, okay, I need to select it and go on Edit, Reshape, Resize, or clicking Ctrl K or Command K, like you can see here, to start to resize the element. Click. Obviously, to resize the element, we will go with the define it graphically, okay? And then you need to find an element that could be used as a reference to scale. In this case, we can say that the distance of our element, so of our work from here to here, it's 50 centimeters. So what I have to do, click on the first part of the vector. Click on the second part of the vector that must be coincident with a drawing element that we know how much is large. Okay, in this case, this wall that we know and that we can suppose correctly that is 50 centimeters. Digit the true distance of the element and click on OK or on this button. And the element will be scale. And once it's scale, if you measure it, you will see that this distance is 50 centimeters. This means also that the element is correctly scaled. Do you have any question? Do you want to see it again? Write in chat, please. Is it clear?
For me, yes.
Okay. Quite simple. Okay, quite simple and quite fast. Let's go farther now. Okay, we have learned how to scale and we have placed the element into our worksheet. And up to now, it's everything fine. Everything is working and I do not have any kind of issues. Where do I place the element? Or better, we have placed the element into the file, into the worksheet, and it's okay, perfect, fantastic. Okay, we have done a good thing. But the element is placed casually. Okay, I can place it here, I can place it here, I can place it here. And there is not a rule that help me to control this kind of element. Okay, that help me also to check, let's say, this kind of solution. And this is a bad drawback, okay? Because placing the worksheet, or better, placing the DWG into the nothingness, it's something that will not help us in the construction of the file. So we needed to place the element in correspondence of the X, that is the center of our project, if you remember. Why? Because this kind of action will help us to control again the file. Okay, quite simple as learning. But where do I need to place the element so to face correctly the correct position of the element? Okay, I need to place my DWG that I have scaled, okay, in a position that I usually call knowing point. Okay, so a place that could be repeat in every floor. In this way, when you import a new element in ArchiCAD, you will see that knowing the same point, okay, will help us to control the entire project itself, because give us the possibility to place the element always on the same position. So what is a knowing point and how can I set up a knowing point particularly in a very particularly fast way and optimizable way? We need to find in our project an element that must be always on the same position for every part of the project. Usually, this kind of part is nothing less than the elevators or the stair, because the vertical connection, to be a vertical connection, usually are on the same spot in every floor. And in this way, we'll simplify and optimize the entire construction of the element. Okay? It's a way for us to use our brain and understand our project, okay, and help us also to control, okay, the evolution of our drawing. This means that I can use, for example, the inner part of the shaft of the elevator, okay, for example, this part, and make it coincident with the center of ArchiCAD. In this way, if and when I will import the floors, the next floors that I want to import and that I will import today into ArchiCAD, there will always be import on the same position, because the element is a knowing point that is strictly continue between the floors of our project. Okay? In this way, it will be perfectly controlled. Pay attention to one thing. Even if it's a drawing, okay, being a drawing, this DWG, okay, give me the possibility to move the element, okay? And if you stay still for a few seconds on the lines of my DWG, you will see that will appear these blue dots, or that I can use as snap. Okay, so the main difference between the DWG and the PDF, because I repeat, this element is a drawing too, it's that the DWG bring with them, okay, and bring to us the condition to have a snap. So they have the possibility to be used as a reference element that could be connected with other part, okay, and that we can use as a knowing point, and so that's why it's usually recommended to import the DWG, because they have the snap. Okay? Someone of you has spoke?
No, this is informally want me to leave. Yes,
Someone of you has the microphone open. Okay, I am mutate them. Mute them. Okay. Okay. This is our DWG perfectly import. Okay. And this is also the first approach to import DWG. So the first import is the drag and drop. Is easy and very clear and fast to approach. Okay. Now let's go further and let's check new way okay, of creating our project. So let's add a new DWG. Our new DWG that will automatically call DWG02 will be the first floor. Okay? So without any issues, we can see a new type of import. Okay? Let's go on File, Interoperability, Merge, Merge from File. It will open this window where we can browse for our element. Okay? Just a second, I do it outside of the screen. I do not want to have a spoiler of what we will do later. Okay, we will arrive at first floor, open. Merge the content from the model space into current view. This is the base thing that we need to know. Click on OK, and it will open this element that gives us the possibility to merge DXF or DWG into the model or the model space into ArchiCAD. This means that ArchiCAD will import directly into the file, okay, the DWG itself. So let's merge. Let's place on a place, and you will see that it will open also this window that gives us the possibility to import also all the layers. And click on OK. I show you this as a new option. As you can see now, I have import my DWG. Okay? What is the main thing that you need to understand as a different thing that we must control? Okay? Let's say that the main difference is that when you merge the element, everything is transformed into a line. Okay? Even the fields. And this, what it means? It means that you have import, not the drawing, but all lines. In a way, it's useful because it gives us the possibility to do not have any issues with our selection of the element. On the other way, as you can see, if the element is full of line, and in this case the lines are this, you will see how many polygons I have, the element will truly be slow. Okay? And not always it's perfect to work. I show this because sometimes it will be very useful to upload the element like I show you. So with the merge tool, but in this way you may face also very particular difficulty to control the project itself, okay? Because adding so much polygons may slow the file. As you can see, for me, it's not smooth, okay? It's quite difficult to control. Why? Because only on this page I have import 3000, probably only on this view I have import 3000 different polygon, and we know that higher it's the number of polygon, higher will be the difficult to control the file, okay? And so that's why I usually recommend and usually suggest to you to use the drag and drop. Okay. Also because we have import layers. Layers are not the topic of today, and we do not approach the layers of today because it's a very difficult element. Okay. But let's say that if you import DWGs like this, you will always and forever import useless information that you may not want to have. Okay? This is. So, even if you delete these lines, okay, you will not delete the layers, okay, and you have to delete them directly. I know that this file is only full with lines, so I do not have any issues, but just to make clear, if you import an element like this and you do not have the control of the project, you may face, okay, and I know these things because it's an import suggestion that on internet you can find quite often, okay, show and see. If you import an element like this with the merge option, you may face the problem to include and import also attribute that you do not want, like not only the layer, but different color, different line weight, different type of line, different information that are strictly related to the lines information of the CAD original file. And that element not be defined from someone who has no control or are on the first approach with ArchiCAD. Could be, not will be, but could be found from a BIM manager and other kind of high level of control of ArchiCAD. Okay, that is something that is not usually happen in university, okay, but even in some professional studio. Okay, these things, it's the ground zero of the information that you need to know in order to avoid possible errors. So, I repeat again, but I show this because I know that you can go on internet and see these things if you do not find any kind of information, okay? I know that you can see this kind of import with the merge option. There is also another option to import, that it's the attached ref, that I do not want to show you because it's even not easy to control in university, and it's useful only on very big project, okay? You will always use the drag and drop. So let's do again. Select the DWG, drag and drop. I use meter this time and place. I place the element, I control the measure. This is 50 centimeters and it's okay. And I move my element from the knowing point that I have already chosen on the ground floor. So here, I move on the same spot of the ground floor. And in this way, I am sure for 100% that the element is on the same position. Do you have any question? Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Remember that if you have any question, you can simply write in chat and I answer. Okay. Now let's import knowing point. Yes, simply I have to decide which part of the project could be repeated in every part of my floor. Okay, in every part of my floors. What is usually the element that could be repeated in every part of my floor? It's not the border of the building because it could change, okay, but it's the vertical connection element, like stairs or the elevator shaft. In this case, I select an element that is this elevator shaft from here to here, okay? And by doing these things, everything will be perfectly aligned. Is it clear? Okay. Now we can stay here together and import all the floors, okay? But I deliver you this kind of things, okay? What I want to show you now is the import of the most important element for us, okay? There is not a floor, or better, the floor are fundamental, but it must be fundamental also to import a section. Because remember, we are working on a 3D file. So, okay, it's okay to import the, obviously, the floors, because our shape of the building starting from that, but it's equally important to import also, and I think that this is a clear thing, also the just a second, catch up the name, this section, because I needed to set up the elevation. So let's import a new independent worksheet. Let's say that there are 5 floors, so this could be the number 6, and I call it section 01. And again, I go on the section and import. Import in meters, place, and obviously it will import in meters and everything is fine. So I cannot control the element. No, this is the main error. Always control the dimension when you import, because as you can see, this is 5 kilometers of wall, and I do not think that 5 kilometers of wall is a good dimension for our project. Okay, so let's see that this is an important thing. Okay, so let's scale it. Always use it as a rule. Always resize and control the dimension of the element when we import something. And now move to the center. Here I do not have a knowing point, okay? Because my section change when I change the position of the section line, okay? And it will change always and clearly into the file. And obviously these things may affect the control of the element, or better, not the control, but could give me some troubles to understand where I need to place the element in order to control perfectly my file. How can we avoid these things? By simply few things, okay? This simple few things is, in a very easy way, this kind of thing. We always place the 00 of our file, okay, as a knowing point. In this way, all the section and the elevation will be placed on the same line, and at least, where, as you can see after the pause, because we finish the setup of the stories and then we'll do a coffee break, because I know that there is a lot of information that you need to understand, okay? After we have done these things, you will see that it will be easy to move horizontally our element. So, place the element like this, we need to start to set up the file elevation. Okay? So up to now we have done always the same thing. We didn't do any different thing. Okay? We start from the element and we start to set up all the things that we are doing. Okay? So up to now, the import situation and the import things that we are doing are always the same thing. Okay, in a very clear and fast way. Okay, let's see so how we can set up a file, or better, the stories. Up to now, the stories that can be seen in the south elevation, for example, are ground floor at 0, first story at 3, second story at 6 meters. As you can see, it's not coincident. Here you can see that the first floor is 3 meters and 20. There is a minus 90 centimeters that are for the foundation. And I have also different elevation that you need to understand. Okay? So, what we can do? We have to set up the element together. Okay? To set up this element, have a little zoom on this dimension like this and go on stories, right click, story settings, or the shortcut command 7. Okay? This will help us to control, let's say, our file. So, when you click this, it will open this story setting option, okay? That give us the possibility to control the story settings. When we set up the story settings, you need to set up the name of the floors, okay? The elevation, that it must be coincident with these numbers, okay? And the height to the next, that it's consequentially of this elevation. Okay? So, as you can see, we have the ground floor at 0 and the first floor at 3 meters and 20. You see that automatically the height to the next will change. And that's correct. Why we set up the first floor at 3 meters and 20? Not only because it's coincident with this number, but because in ArchiCAD, and this is a rule that you need and that you must pay attention, follow, okay? And I do not accept any exception, okay? When you set up the file, the file must set up from the pavement to the pavement, okay? So where I walk to where I walk. This is the setup of our elevation of the file. If someone of you set up these things in a different way, it will be an error, but not an error because it is a bad thing to do and it's not something that I do not have to do because blah blah blah, but because it will be very difficult to control the file. It will be almost impossible to control the file. Okay? Because we do not have the possibility to perfectly set up and control the position of the floors. Okay, so always set up the file, as I told you before, from the walking part of the element to the walking part of the element. Is it clear? Do you want to say something again about these things? You can tell me, and I will show you again without any issues. But this is one of the most important thing that you need to understand. So
I have one question. Like for the
yes,
ground floor, it was 0. First floor, it was 320. So we have to write it on elevation section or height to the next.
it's the same thing.
Same thing. Oh, okay.
Okay. For example, for the second floor that is at 6 meters and 30, you can click here 6 meters and 30, and automatically the height to the next will change. Okay. So it's the same thing. If you digit this or you calculate this elevation. Okay?
Yes, thank you.
Someone else? No one? So, okay, let's go. Okay. So set up the first floor and the second floor. Some of you could tell me, okay, now let's insert the plus 60 and 80, 6 meters and 80. No, because it's not a point where I can walk. This element is just the finiture of this wall, okay? So it's just how the wall will finish. So it's not an element that you need and that you must to set up, okay? If you set up, you only create perilous position for your project and create inconsistency. We always set up three things. The floors and must be set up from the walking part to the walking part, so pavement to pavement. We set up the foundation, so in this case we can go on the ground floor and insert below the foundation floor that has an elevation of minus 90 centimeters, as you can see. And we always set up a floor for the roof. Always set up a floor for the roof. Okay? Why? Because in this way it will be easier for us, okay, to control our project. So we insert above the second floor a roof floor that could be placed at the elevation of the interconnection of this elevation plus 9 meters and 40 centimeters. That is intersection medium point between the roof and the walls. Okay, so here I can place 940. And now I can click on OK. In this way, you can see that the south elevation will be updated. And now we have set up and create the base, okay, for the control of our project. Now we have all the elements in terms of 2Ds and on 3Ds, okay, of the project that we have import. So we have the information for floors and information for the elevation. We have the information of elevation also here. Why we create a different floor for roof and different floor for foundation? Because we need to set up this element, because when you will place the beams of the foundation, of the pillars of the foundation, there must be seen as part of the project, and so could be separated in another view. That will be the foundation floor. And on the same spot, we can set up the roof as a place where we will place the roof in order to be visualized in 2Ds, but that could be moved in the project in order to be perfectly connected and create the correct shape of our project. Do you have any question?
No.
Okay. So I think that we can do a little pause, coffee break, 15 minutes, and we come back and we start with the walls. Okay?
All right.
Perfect. Okay. So we have set up our file, okay? And we are finally ready to start to model our project. Some of you could tell me, okay, we may be ready, but we can't see anything because we have set up all the things on a worksheet. And so up to now, I do not have anything in my floor. So how can I try and how can I start to model the things without having anything that we can use here? In truth, it's not a problem because ArchiCAD gives us the possibility to use a very strong tool that it's called trace and reference. Okay? The trace and reference give us the possibility to show an element that is on another part of the file as a background element of our file itself. Okay? This means that we may go here on our ground floor, right click on the worksheet of the ground floor DWGs and show as trace reference. In this way, the element will appear here. Okay? And that's a very strong tool, because in this way I have obtained the same option that I have done if I had put the DWGs directly into the ground floor, avoiding the error of putting the DWGs on the ground floor, because in this way I do not have an overlapping of information. Okay? It doesn't seem, but it simplifies a lot our work. Okay? So we can go straight, okay, and continue to optimize our entire workflow. Okay? Let's see now how we can work with this, okay, and absolutely complete the entire work. It's obviously that if we import the element on the correct way, so with the same position here, we need to move also our drawing, okay, our elevation, in order to center our element. Okay, in this way everything is aligned. Obviously, now that I have set up the element, some of you could tell me, okay, fantastic, everything is fine and it's working without any issues, but we need to know if and how I can control my element here below. Okay? Why? Because the trace and reference may be moved and maybe control in terms of visualization. So let's go on this button here above, that is the trace and reference option, and click on this tiny arrow here and choose trace and reference option, the last button. Okay? It will open this tiny window, okay, that will give us the possibility to control, okay, everything. And with this, we have now the possibility to check and control again all the things of our project. Okay? This means that we have the possibility, for example, okay, to just a second, okay, to move our reference without moving the element that are physically in ArchiCAD. In fact, the reference could not even be selected, as you can see. But with this button, we can move, to rotate if possible, but these are things that we do not use because we set up the file correctly, okay, and revert it to default position. But more importantly, we may change the color of the element. For example, I use a blue one because it's quite clear, okay? And to make it, or the action part, the active part, more or less transparent, okay? This kind of solution, if you pay attention, give us the possibility to strongly control the representation of our project, because give us the possibility to perfectly control and understand if we need to move or change something in our project. The main thing that you need to understand in truth, and if we want to, let's say, perfectly set up and understanding everything, okay, it's that you need to not have the reference with the original color. Because with the original color, you will always find a way to make an error, okay? Because you do not have a clear distinction between the reference point and the active point. So, first advice that I can give you is to always use the reference element with a color that could be a strong color, for example, the blue or the red. It's up to you to decide which one of these is more comfortable for you. For me, it's the blue one, okay, because it's easier for me to control, let's say, and to adjust in terms of control and visualization of the element, okay? Simply that. Another thing, okay, it will be easier to control, okay, and to visualize. Let's also already create a section. To create a section, you have to simply go on the section on the left side of the screen under the viewpoint and trace a line. So it's a linear tool as we have already seen. So first point, second point, and decide in which part of the screen, okay, you need to take a look when you finish to draw the element, okay? So in this case, I have created a section that take a look on this part of the building. And let's open the new section that you have created here on the right side of the screen under the section option. And let's activate the section DWG, okay, as a trace and reference. So open the section DWG worksheet, right click, show as trace reference. You see that it will appear here, and obviously you cannot move the section that you have created from here in order to have centered this element into the section part, because you will move the section in the floor. And this will create a strong disalienation between the project and the reference of the DWG. So what do you have to do? You have to use the trace and reference tool that we have seen before, the drag reference, that is the upper part button of the trace and reference palette that we have already seen, and simply move it. Up to now can be moved, as I told you before, only horizontally, okay, because we do not have any kind of issues or problem here to move. When we will start to model the walls, we will come back here and we will understand how to align our section DWG with the true position of our ground floor. Okay, it's a work of set up the thing. Okay, we move there, we check this, we check that, until we finally understand everything about it. Okay, is it clear the idea that is behind this kind of tool? Do you want to see something again? Please tell me, this is important for me to know.
Maybe one more time, please.
What do you want to see?
I've taken the notes of building section and everything. The last step that we had to pay attention to the measurements. I mean, the reference and trace reference
the trace and
option.
reference. Okay,
Yeah, I
we
got
will
it.
see
That
that
was
again.
red and blue, and then after that, maybe I might need
Okay.
help.
So to access the trace and reference, we have understand. Right click, show trace and reference, right? Okay. Now that we have place, we can access the trace and ref palette here above. Okay, trace and reference, and it will open this tiny window. Rule number 1: choose the color for the reference and you keep the original for the active part. Second, in floors, if everything is already set up well, like we have done up until now, so choosing the correct position of the element and so on, You do not have to do anything, okay? Zero effort, because everything is already been set up, okay? It's one thing that is quite useful if you think about it, okay? And you do not have to do anything, but literally anything, okay? So what does it mean? It means that now the only thing that you need to do is to understanding the positioning section. So you have to open the section that we have already created, and here in section start to think if you need to drag, so to move the reference with this button. I repeat, this button move only the reference, okay? If I try to move anything else with my tools of usually using ArchiCAD, we do not have this possibility, okay? Because this element, it's there. It's a visualization of something that it's present on other part of the file, in this case on the worksheet. So it's something that I cannot edit, but again, I could only move and rotate and modify. Anything more, anything less, okay? Is it a little more clear?
Yes.
Okay. If you keep in mind these things, you will see that it will be quite easy to control as an element, okay? You do not have any issues or whatever with this kind of action. Okay. Okay. So let's start to model the element in order to understand also how floors, section, trace and reference interact one each other, okay? So let's do a lot of things for me in order to understand if everything is fine. Let's start with the first tool. Today we will see one tool, okay? Maybe two if we are very good. And we set up a lot of things for our file, okay? I repeat one last time. This lesson is fundamental. If you miss something here, you may affect the entire construction of your project, and it's something that we do not want to see, okay? So please try as much as possible to focus your attention here, and if anything is not clear, ask me, okay? And I will answer. Okay. So the wall tool is the first tool that we see, and it's a liner tool. This means that we could use the generic liner information of the ArchiCAD file that we have already seen in the first lesson and that we can see again here today. Okay, so if we open the setting dialog, we will start to speak about this setting dialog, and we will try to understand how does it compose, because in general terms it's working exactly on the same way for every kind of situation. Okay, let's start from the first approach, that is this one. Here in this project we have here for all the tools in a different visualization, but into the project it's always the same. We have for every tool that has a 3D approach, okay, so the part under design, we have the same configuration. Geometry and position, that is where we will decide the geometry and position of our file, of our element, sorry. So if it's on the floor, it has a different dimension, different position into the space, okay? And that's the part that we will see in very detailed today. Floor plan and section, there is a section of this kind of information, of this dialog setting, that give us the possibility to strongly control the appearance of the element, but it's an element that we will see later in the course, okay? into the half part of the course. Okay, so in this way you will have the possibility to set up the documentation of the element and the setup of the visualization of the element, and obviously paying these things, okay, I'm sure at 100% that you can understand that we will see at half of the course, because it's something that we will see when we will start to speak about documentation. Then we have models that control the appearance of the 3D elements, okay? And it's something that we will see today, because this is for the visualization of the element, okay? That also will strongly help us. And then we have two options. One option that we never see, that it's the structural analytical parameters that are part of the engineering path of ArchiCAD, and as you can imagine, it's an advanced tool that we will for surely not see during this kind of course, because this course it's a base course, not an advanced course, okay? And so it's something that you will probably see when you will do advanced course of ArchiCAD. And last but not least, it's something that we will start to approach, but that we will see later in the course. It's the true BIM part of ArchiCAD, the I of BIM, BIM. That is the information classification and properties. Here I have to do a little digression, okay, that you need to follow me. Let's say that, sorry, let's say that when you create a tool, when you use the tool in ArchiCAD, that doesn't mean that using that tool will create that element, okay? What does it mean? It means that it depends on the classification of the elements and its properties. Let's start to separate classification and properties in order to understand which one is one and which one is the other one, okay? The first one is the classification. The classification for ArchiCAD and in general for a BIM file, it's what is that element. This means that if I create a column and I use the column as a column, it will be classified as a column. And up until here, no issues. But if I create a column and I use the column to create a complex profile, to create an intersection of different walls of a building, some of you has the microphone open, so please quiet, stop it, okay, close it. If some of you, I repeat again, use the column as a part of the wall, it's not a problem. Absolutely, it's not a problem. But that element must be classified not anymore as a column, but as a wall. Or if we want to make a more fast example that we will see later, if you use the slab to create your slab of the project, it means that okay. It means that that element will be classified as slab. But if you use the slab to create the context of your building, so the other place where the other building near to the main project, okay, it will be must classify as context, because the classification identifies the information that that element will be bring with it, okay? It could be simple, but it's fundamental, because it completely changes the informatical part of the delivery of the project. ArchiCAD, I repeat again, it's not only modeling, but it's in particular coordinate and create the correct set of information in order to reach the final approach. Okay? When you set up the change of the classification, for example, footing, you will see that your information will change because the properties are strictly related to the classification. If a wall, it has this kind of classification, but if an element, it's not a wall, but it's a stair, you see that the information here on the bottom part, so the properties of that stair in terms of information will completely change and transform that element. Okay? This is a very strong part because it's here that you set up what element is in the reality. It doesn't mean that using a wall will create a wall, but it could be that using a wall you can create a furniture or another building that is only a shape or whatever it will be. Okay? Is it clear, this part, this little digression? Do you want me to repeat? Please tell me.
For me, it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, now let's focus our attention on the main part for this lesson. Okay, that is the geometry and position. Let's start speaking of the position. Okay, and let's add some axioms, some rules that you must follow because it's fundamental. Okay, and you could not try to think about architecture. Okay. First thing, every element has his home story, and the home story is where you are modeling. Okay, and it will be coincident with the footing of our element. Okay, every element of ArchiCAD must be top linked to the first floor above the home stories. Okay, this is a rule that I could not be try to not see in your files. I make an example. When we model, we start from the ground floor, okay, to the first floor, and this is what a wall. Then there will be another wall that starts from the first floor and arrives to the second floor, and another floor that starts from the second floor and arrives to the roof floor. You could model something from the ground floor to the third floor on the roof without any issues, and you can model that. But if you model that like this, for me, you will not pass the exam because it's a strong error, because it will not give you the possibility to control the visualization of the elements that are part of the wall, like connection between elements, windows and doors. Okay? Completely change the effect of the visualization of the element that you may rescount. And this will complicate in a whole different level the difficulty of your file, even if it's the most simplest one of the world. Okay? Knowing this, you may understand that everything must be perfectly controlled. So in ArchiCAD, we model as a cake from home story to home story plus one. Home story plus one. Always, and in this way, not always all the elements will be connected from each floor and will automatically give us the possibility to perfectly control the element. Okay? But also give you the possibility to perfectly understand and control, okay, the visualization of the element. These are few rules, let's say, that if followed, give you the possibility to have no issues. Also, top linking a wall or in general an element in ArchiCAD give us the possibility to not work to the entire elevation because it was already set up on the stories. That's why we set up them before, and setting up them before give us the possibility to fix this dimension, and if we alter this dimension into the file, every element that it's linked, the top linked, will automatically adjust, avoiding possibly error of the visualization and possibly error of non-consistency of the file. Okay?
Okay.
Okay. In this lesson, I repeat a lot of things in the hope that everything is fine and that everything is clear. I know that it's quite redundant and it will be only for the first lessons, okay? Because we need to, let's say, sedimental element and ideas directly into your mind, okay? After this, after the first lessons that will be a repeat of the repeat of the repeat of the repeat, you will see that slowly everything will align perfectly and you will understand everything. And that's why we will start slow in learning ArchiCAD, but we finish very fast, okay? Because everything is strongly connected. Oof. Okay. Another thing that you have to know is that you can offset this elevation and you can control them. You see, in this 3D visualization, if you need, you can go down or you can go above the reference of the top link because maybe you need to create something like a connection with the foundation or the upper part of a furniture of the walls, exactly like we can see here. This famous plus 50 centimeter could be set up in the wall setting by simply adding here 50. And automatically this element will arrive 50 centimeter above the top linked wall. And in this element, in this way, this part will perfectly align. Okay? This is the secret of these things. And avoid any kind of issues. Okay, and we can do the same thing here below if we need from this point to connect the foundation. There are a few things that if you learn how to control, you will see that will change completely the way you will see the software and will faster, okay, the entire evolution of your file. Okay? Okay. Okay, learning this, we can go further and understanding the composition of the walls. Okay? The walls could be of 3 different types. We use for the first part of the course the base one. Okay, for at least 2 weeks we use the base one. Okay, and after that we will move on the other two, okay, because it's part of a very complicated lesson that it's about the composite and complex profile, that it's very difficult in general terms, or better, more than difficult, it's complex, okay, but also it's truly strong, and you will understand why in 2 weeks. Okay. Just to close these things, we will work with the base one that is composed by a single building materials. And what is a building materials? When we create an element in ArchiCAD that has a 3D construction, so that will be a 3D construction, okay, we need to understand what is a building materials. A building material is nothing less than the true element that will be created in the reality. Okay? Let's say that if we work with a brick, you have to imagine this element as a brick, okay, as a true brick that will be placed into the site to create our building. Okay? It's the brick that the operator places in the site to create the wall. And it's completely different from the surfaces, okay? Because the surfaces that are here in the model part are the appearance, the texture of the brick, but not the brick itself. What does it mean? It means that if I speak of surfaces, I speak about the visualization of the brick in a texture like Word, okay? Where I see if it's a running bond, solder bond, stack bond, surface color, red herringbone, and so on, okay? So it's the visualization of the single element as position in the space, okay? It's the appearance. But if I speak about building material, I speak about the true brick with their physical information. So if it's a brick of 1 kilos, 2 kilos, it depends on the composition, 30 grams, or it has a conductivity of the thermal conductivity, or if it has a insulation in terms of sound, or in terms of whatever it will be. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. So let's start with the generical structure that for us is more than enough. If we work with the base structure, okay, we have the possibility to change the thickness of our wall. Okay, so a wall could be of 30 centimeters, 20 centimeters, and whatever it will be. And we can change also if it's a trapezoid element, so start from 30 and finish to 50, or if it is a polygonal wall that do not have to use it's an old reminiscence of older ArchiCAD. This tools is forbidden in this course. If I see an element that it's modeled with the polygonal wall, for me it's not evaluatable in any case, okay? Absolutely, in any case. I told everything today, okay? And so on. And then we have the wall complexity. If the wall is straight, slanted, so it's inclinated, or double slanted, okay? When we change and we will see the composite, you will see that the possibility to change the thickness of the wall doesn't appear because the composite are nothing less a composition of different building materials. So it's the stratification of different parts of materials that create and composite our wall. Okay? That's it. Is it clear?
Yes.
Last but not least, for the complex profile are something, okay, that give us the possibility to create peculiar shape of our wall, okay? So you can see that it's a shape that could not be achieved by simply extruding it doesn't come in English, this word, of a rectangular shape extruded, okay? I need to find a new way to speak about it. Simply that, okay? So for today and for 2 weeks, we will focus on our attention on simply and nothing more, nothing less than our base structure. We know that the outside line is of 50 centimeters, and so we can start, okay, we can start to model our element. Let's see how we can do these things. Just a second, there it's completely stopped this. Okay, let's hope that this is working. Okay, it was my mouse that doesn't answer to me. Okay, let's start modeling our wall. So wall activate, wall tool activate, setup done. It's a linear tool, so we have to set up the geometry method. If you want to create a concatenated walls, you need to go here on the first part of the geometry method, click on the little arrow here near this tool and click on the second button. In this way, it will open the possibility to create the connection between the walls. And then start to model. I arrive to another point, zoom in, do not be afraid to zoom. Again here, again here. You see that there is a curve, so I need to curve my project. How can I do this? If you remember, being a linear tool, we have our pet palette, that is a palette that follows us like a pet. That's why it's a pet palette. And we can choose different type of curve in base of our utility, okay, based on our common use of the element, okay. It's depend on how we are, what we prefer to do. In this case, we can use the arc by 3 point because we have the first point, the second point that is the end, and the third point that is any point into the circumference of my element. Okay, and in this way I can model my curved wall. And after that, if I needed to continue straight wall, I can click on this one, right segment, and go up until here and continue to create the shape of my building. If I found a place or in part of the building where there is a different thickness of the wall, do not be afraid and start to continue to model, okay? We will fix it later. As if you find window like this, do not be afraid and go over them, okay? Because the window are part of the wall, and if you do not model the wall, you will not have the possibility to see the window, to place the window, okay? This is fundamental. If for any reason, let me go there. If for any reason I see something like this, okay, and then I close the wall and I restart there, I will take your file, close your file, and do not even control, okay, because the element the window are part of the wall, and without the wall you cannot place the window, okay. It's a very simple situation that you cannot avoid. Clear?
Gotcha.
Okay. Now, I unfortunately made an error because I placed an hotspot here and I do not know how to delete this. What I have to do? I have to repeat again from 0, I have to click Ctrl Z or whatever. You have to only click the backspace button of your keyboard in order to delete the last point place and continue until the end. And when you arrive at the end, you will see that the walls will automatically connect one each other. In this way, you have created the shape of your exterior wall. Okay? And it's quite simple, because in this way, you have set up the dimension of the building. And if you go in 3D, you will see that this element appears. How can I move in 3D? In 3D, I can zoom in, zoom out with the central button. And also with the central button, if I keep press, I can pan. If I want to orbit, I simply need to click the O button on the keyboard. And with the left click, orbit, keeping preset. Okay? Like this. If I want to exit from the orbit mode, simply click ESC on your keyboard to ESC. In this way, everything is fine. Everything is perfectly under control, okay? And we do not have any kind of issues. Right?
Got it.
Okay. So let's check also in section. Section. Because as I told you before, now I have the section to take a look at my project. I see that my element is not perfectly online. So what can I have to do? I can make the reference a little stronger and make the active part a little less stronger. Move the reference with the drag reference bottom of my palette of the tracing reference. Find a place that is surely clear, this one, and move it and connect. And in this way, the position of my building is perfectly aligned to my project. Okay? Exactly as I need it to be, as it needs to be. Simple and fast. Now everything is aligned, everything is perfect, and we have the perfect correspondence between my project and my DWG in terms of plans and in terms of section. And I may move correctly into the project. Okay. One thing that I was forgotten, maybe, or simply as I told you during the first lesson, we have to learn when we work with errors, okay? Up to now, everything is fine, it's perfect, okay? We do not have done any visual error because it's working perfectly in every part of it, okay? And we can say that everything is perfectly aligned and we are working on the correct way to set up the file, okay? And it's like this because everything was modeled perfectly. We needed to start to learn where are the main errors that are not visualized, okay? Let's speak about the first error. When you create a concatenations of walls, like in this case, okay, you can see that this element are, yes, a single element, but they have and they are separated. So if for any reason I need to change only the outside wall, I have to select all of them, select the wall it doesn't need, and then modify. And until it's the first part of the element, it's not a problem. Of the modeling, it's not a problem. But when you are already at almost the finished modeling, it could be a very big and fast to overlap in order to finish this, okay? And it could take a lot of time to understand also how to resolve this problem, okay? If it's like this, you need to create a group. How can I create a group? To create a group, you simply select the element that you want inside the group, and then click on Command G on Mac or Control G on Windows. In this way, you see that the hotspot change. They are not black dot anymore, but are an empty. I didn't never understand the color, but let's say an empty green hotspot. The empty green hotspot, if I select one thing, will automatically select everything because are now part of a group, okay? And some of you could tell me, okay, perfect, now we have a group, but we cannot modify a single part if I need to modify a single part. And some of you could maybe right, but it's not like this, because the groups are an interactive element. The groups work fine when the element is activated. So if the group button, that is this button, it's called suspending groups, it's deactivate. In this way, the element is working as a selection of all the elements, and the only thing that we can do is move all of them together. But if I suspend the group by clicking this button, even if they are part of the group, I can start to modify the single element, both in the hotspot and in the lines. Okay? And this gives me the possibility to modify and check everything about the project. It's a way to control the model and to have the perfect control of everything in our project. Okay? Is it clear?
Makes sense.
Okay, perfect. Again, be patient, but we will repeat the things a lot of time, but we are going to be sure that everything must be crystal clear now in order to avoid problems later. Okay? Another big error that I had made, okay, and I have done this on purpose, it's about the layers. Because when you model something in ArchiCAD, that it's not, pay attention, windows and doors, it will always must place on a layer. Okay? And of default, ArchiCAD gives us a list of layers that we may use. Okay, let's assume a new rules. When we speak about the layers, do not use the layers of ArchiCAD, because you need to understand how to create your own layers to perfectly control the project. It's a very few things, but will completely change the approach to the file in an absolute way. So up to now, we will not speak about the layers, because the layers is an advanced tool that we will speak at half of the course. But we will start to use this as an axiom, like in mathematics when we needed to understand something, and something it's like this because it's like this. Okay, so it's an axioms. We will learn and use this axiom as for the layers rules. When we start to model something, that it's part of a group of evolution of our project, in this case, the creation of layers, okay, the creation of the exterior walls and of the interior walls. We will go here below, where is the layer settings, this button here. We click this button and we open the layer list. And we use this button here into the upper part to see the view list. These are all of our layers of ArchiCAD. Okay? And the only thing that you need to know about the layers are two things for now. For now. Okay? Later we will go a lot in the detail, but for now it's more than enough to know this thing. Okay? First thing, there is an ArchiCAD layer that is the default layer of ArchiCAD that could not be deleted. And there is a hidden layer that will remain. Okay? When we work in ArchiCAD for the first time, you will have to select all the layers that already exist except for the ArchiCAD layers and the hidden layer and delete them. Delete them. Pay attention, we have already modeled something, okay? So we will move the element that we have already modeled into the ArchiCAD layer, okay? And we click on move. Let's see what's happened, or better, let me do one thing before. Let's save our file before doing something like this, because it's important, okay? let's save the file, and to save the file, go on File, Save As. Just a second. Let me find the correct position. 2 seconds, okay? Okay, I will save here, and I will call it BA, BIM application 2025 AC29. Let's speak about this. AC29 L01. This is for me, it's a coding for me. I will show you what is the name of this element. 1010. So BIM application ArchiCAD 29. So I have the lesson, the cursor, ArchiCAD 29, the version of ArchiCAD. This is lesson 01 and the code, okay, and informatical data of today, 25-10-10, okay? In this way, this file, it's clear. It's about the cursor. We're using ArchiCAD 29. It's the lesson number 1, that in truth it's lesson number 3, if we want to be clear. And then we have the informatical data. And then click on Save. Before clicking on Save, let's see what are the possibly save systems that we may find. Okay, that are the ArchiCAD Solo project, okay, that is the ArchiCAD existing, let's say, and natural format for this it's the native type of format of ArchiCAD, PLN, and then we have the possibility to save a lot of different options. The only thing that you need to know is that we will work for now for the ArchiCAD Solo project, but we will see a lot of them, of this kind of situation, in particular the ArchiCAD Archive project, that is a later version. For now, we focus on ArchiCAD Solo project and click on Save. The file is saved when we'll see the name here above. Okay. Now, let's see what's happened if I delete the layers, and let's see if deleting the layer is the good approach that we need to do. If I delete the layer and move the element into the layer ArchiCAD, and I click on Move, you will see that everything will disappear, but now we may face a problem, because these elements are all on the ArchiCAD layer. Okay? Being on the ArchiCAD layer, it's useful and stressful on the same time, because it's useful because obviously it's always visible, and we may not find any kind of issues if we have any possible risk to lose part of the file. This is completely avoided because it's an option that gives us the possibility on purposely to avoid this kind of situation, okay? And these things, it's a truly and for sure helping element for us, okay? Because, again, I repeat, we will not have the risk to lose part of our project. On the meantime, okay, it's a very difficult thing to control, because if everything is on the layer of ArchiCAD, 100% will always be sure, because it's an element that I cannot control in terms of visualization. Okay, so knowing these things, you need to understand how and when apply the element to the ArchiCAD layers. Preferably, you will never use ArchiCAD layers, okay? Because it will create an inconsistency during the path, if not for using the DWG position. If the DWG that you import are on the ArchiCAD layers, it's okay because I want to see them always. But when I model something, remember these rules. I have to create always a new layer by clicking this new layer button here below and coding a name in order to create the correct visualization of the element. Okay, let's do this. So now we are working on the exterior wall. So the layer that we want to create, it's the layer exterior wall where we will place every wall that will be an outside wall of our building. Okay, so let's code them. W01, W is the acronym of wall, wall 01, underscore exterior walls, okay, and this is okay. And then in the extension, we can add the extension arch, okay? In this way, what we have done, we have created a layer where we can place our exterior walls with an extension. The extension is nothing less than a helpful way to control the visualization of the element. Okay? Because not the visualization in terms of appearance of the elements that are into that layer, but to control the list of layers that you will create. Usually it's like a word that will accumulate different elements together, which sense arch, it's architectural. Okay, so every architectural element of Archicad, that could be stairs, interior wall, exterior walls, I don't know, slabs and so on, could be placed into the arc extension, could be enlisted as an arc extension to have a clearly visualization of the layers that create our architectural part. Beams, columns, and so on could be extended with the extension STR, structure. The furniture, FUR, furniture. Okay? The map element, MEP element, MEP. And this will categorize and enlist all the elements in one big list of layers. You need to know that when you create a layer, up to now we have 3 layers, but usually less than 70 layers, it's difficult to approach in a true file, in a true project, okay? It's different to reach less than 70 layers. And so if at least I could have and face 70 layers, if I have obviously an entire visualization of these different layers with a different extension and coding name that will help me to control the visualization of the element, it will be easier for me to control. It's clear, this part, this idea that is behind the layer. I repeat, the layer is a very advanced topic. For me, it's important that you understand that could be what is the idea behind the layer. Doing layers, creating layers every time, understanding these things and go on will simplify a lot your approach to the file. Tell me only if it's clear.
For me, it's clear.
Okay. Someone else?
For me, it's getting a bit of complex, but I have to follow during the project. But generally, I got it.
Okay, it's a bit complex. It's a bit complex, this part, because it's a part that is more advanced, but you cannot model the element without the layers, okay? So it's something that we must face at today. It's like a big wall to climb, but we climb together to understand, okay? This is for sure. Okay, another thing, now we have created our walling exterior. Let's start to create also the interior. So new layer here below, and let's start to name it correctly. W02 interior walls arch. okay? And with this, we have created two different layers. Another thing that you need to know about the layer, this is more intuitive and more easier to understand. So at least this, it's quite visualized, okay? It's this. Here you can hide or show the layer with this button near this eye. So if the eye is open, you will see the layer. If the eye is closed, you will hide the element of the layers. We may block the layer and we may make here wireframe, okay? Usually we focus our attention on this part. This number here is an advanced part of the layers that we will not see today, okay? Let's know that exists. After that, we will see this element, it's out of the course. So, create both of our layers. We can click on OK, and our project will be set up. Now, I can select my element, select the group, and move the layer of all the elements that are selected directly here on the dynamic toolbar and move on exterior wall. With this, we have modeled our walls and place on the correct position. Correct position and correct coding of the layer. Okay, in one click, we have done a lot of things that are very, very good. Okay. I know that it's a little bit complex, I repeat, but we are now on a good position to at least understand everything. Okay? So, with this, we have set up a lot of things, okay? And we have done a lot of things today, and so in few seconds, we will finish this part, okay? We see that it's, give me 20 minutes and we finish, okay? We will not see everything about the walls today, but almost everything, and I think that it's important for us to also to control this part, okay?
Yes.
Okay, so unsuspend the group and let's start to correct the element. You see that I modeled the element, but I don't see if here there is a low wall that it's tiny or where is the correct position of the window. What can I do in this case? I can click on this button here below that is called reference of top on top. If I do, you will see that you will see the reference on top, and it will be easier for me to control the element. Okay, in this way you can see that everything is a lot of easier to control. And I can select the wall that I want to change in thickness and check that thickness. So measurement tool, from here to here it's 15 centimeters. Let's simplify, okay? So this wall, select, and I can change the dimension directly here in the dynamic toolbox. That, if you see, it's a simplified version of the wall settings. So this means that here in wall thickness, instead of 50, I can write 15, and the element will automatically adjust. These are 10 centimeters, okay, I told you. I select both of this wall and insert 10. And you see that all the element will be adjusted into the connection. Why does these things happen? Because the walls work from the connection not of the wall itself, but of the reference line, that is this blue line. Let's understand how does a wall is composed so that we can understand the element itself. Okay? First things to know is that the reference line, okay, it's this blue line that connects the two hotspots of the element. The reference line is the element that modify the information in terms of geometry of the wall. In fact, if you click on the reference line, you see that your pet palette gives you the possibility to insert new node, to curve, rotate the element, okay? And you see that when you model, there is a blacker line, that is the blue line in one spot of the element, and a projection of the wall that will automatically adjust in base where I move the reference line. If I try to do the same thing on the wall that is extruded from the reference line, I will only have the possibility to move it, because the wall is the results of the drawing of the reference line. When you model a wall, you model, in truth, the reference line that will create the wall itself. Okay? I repeat, I know that could be a little bit complex because there is a lot of things that are completely new for you, but they will be clear as soon as we go straight until the end. Okay? This is the trick that you need to know to obtain results on ArchiCAD. Okay. Let's continue. Just a second, that I have updated this part. Okay. So, the element must be connected from the reference line, always, okay? Now, let's model the interior walls to understand this kind of element. So, activate the wall, change the layer into interior walls, and make it of 20 centimeters. Let's start with 20 centimeters, okay? And let's start to model. I can start. You see that apparently everything is fine. I can simply follow the shape and connect the wall. Take a look. This is a little bit larger, and it's not a problem because we can select the element and place the dimension 23.550 to have the true dimension. But when you model the element, ArchiCAD will automatically connect the reference line. Connecting the reference line gives us the possibility to perfectly control our model, because an element is connect one each other only when there is no gap between both of them. If for any reason you see a situation like this, that apparently it's connect, but you see a blacker line here, a black line that cut the two elements, this element and this element are not connected because there is no connection between the reference line. Okay? It's a simple rule, but it's fundamental to understand because everything is around this part. Okay, everything is create, let's say, the fundamental in ArchiCAD here, because the element must be connected one each other. It's the only way to create correct project that avoid any kind of error. All the other things that you may find into the ArchiCAD, okay, all the things that will not connect the element will always be considered an error because there is no continuity of the element. It's like when you model the walls interior and the wall exterior, as the element will not touch each other. Okay, they are not connected, and so you are creating a building that will collapse with a simple flow of the window. It's obviously that there will be always a big problem that you need to understand. Okay?
Yes.
Okay. In truth, as you can see, it's not something that it's so difficult. But it's obviously that you need to understand this kind of things for better set up, let's say, everything in your project. Now let's see some particular cases, okay? Because the reference line has a big possibility. You see that I am starting modeling these things, but I have created the wrong position of the reference line. And so maybe some of you tell me, okay, you need to do everything from zero again. No, because the reference line brings with it also an important and fundamental information. This important and fundamental information is that the reference line always create an interior and an exterior part of the wall. The reference line is coincident with the face, and that face will be recognized by the software as an interior face or an outside face. So it's determine which part of the walls it's inside and which part of the wall it's outside. Consider for the software. This means that if I model the things correctly, because we always knew the outside face of the reference line on the outside face of a wall, okay? If we needed to simply mirror the wall, you can click on this button that it's called reference line location. Flip wall on reference line, and the position will be completely change. Okay, it's not the outside face, because the outside face will always be coincident with the reference line in this case, but we flip the wall to make it in the correct position. These things of the interior face, outside face, or inner face, it's fundamental because it changes completely the way where you approach the elements in ArchiCAD. Okay? Why? Because when you model an element, you always need to make a reference with the reference line. If the reference line is outside, you need to start to model from the outside face of the wall in this case. And for an exterior wall, it's quite clear because it's the exterior part of the wall, so the part that is on the fresh air, okay, it's not on the interior. For the interior walls, it's more difficult to understand which part could be considered interior and which part could be considered outside, exterior of the face. Okay, so you need to understand what we need to do in order to find the correct visualization of the element. And the most important thing that you need to know in ArchiCAD is that we need to understand which part of this must be the inside face of the exterior of the interior wall, of the exterior part of the interior wall, in order to be coherent into our model. Again, it's more difficult to speak about this than to do this, okay? So let me try to be more visual to make you clear. For us, usually, the interior part of an interior wall will always be the inner part of the room. So if this is my room, the exterior part, so where I need to model the element, will be the exterior part of the room. Okay? Knowing this, I can know that this is my room, and this is the outside face that I can flip. And this will be the outside, this will be the inner part, so this will be the outside face of the wall, where I model my reference line. Obviously, this part will be interior, but with the exterior line. But this is a paradox that we cannot avoid. This is the inner, this is the inner, this is stronger than this because I usually go with logic. So this is the last room that I can reach. And for me, it's this one, the inner part, and this is the corridor. Let's say that in a configuration of interior walls, where is the corridor, we will always see the outside face of the interior wall. I told you it's more difficult to me to explain that for you to comprehend. Okay? This is fine. Is it clear, please?
Makes sense.
Okay, thank you. I know that could be not easy, but it's the basic that we need to do. Okay, knowing this, let's understand why we always use the exterior walls as the outside face as a main reference. Because the 90% of the file is set up starting from the outside to the inside, or better, the 100% of the file. It's depend on us. So if all the files, all the ArchiCAD files, it's thinking about from the outside to the inside, always keeping the outside face as a main reference, will connect and simplify in general terms with all the elements of ArchiCAD, and will make us more easier to understand because everything will be much more linear also in terms of construction of the element. Okay, as I told you from the first day, for me it's the setup of the entire workflow that is the base where we set up the construction of our model. And by knowing these things, it will be easier on a new whole scale to control this kind of action. Okay? So, let's now finally close for the lesson of today with the last topic that I want you to show you. Okay? That it's in truth quite fundamental because we speak about reference line and now we have to understand how to apply this reference line. This is a peculiar case. Okay, this is my outside face. I can model the element up until here. Okay, I know that this element is 30 centimeters. I have modeled everything. There is an error. Here it's connected, but here there is an incoherence because the exterior is here, but the exterior is also here. Okay, and so how can I make this element does not appear these errors? Hey, it's simple. We need to work with the position of the reference line, respect the position of the wall that is projected. Okay, again, more simply to speak than to more simply to understand than to speak. I'm tired, I tell you. So this is a step-by-step following rules that you need to follow. Okay, follow me step by step. Understand where is the outside face of the wall that is in the coincident of this point. Select the walls that create the inconsistency, that is this one, and right-click, move, drag, or the shortcut Ctrl-D on Windows, Command-D on Mac. Move this element from here, stay a few seconds without clicking here in order to have the snap, and bring on the parallel part of the snap, okay, that is this point, and click. So I move the element in perfect coincidence of this point. Click on the hotspot and connect the wall to the intersection of the outside walls of before. This will create a perfect continuity, and you can see that the element is continuity, but the position of the element must be 50 centimeters on the right. So open the setting dialog, and here on reference line you will see that it will be this element, that is the reference line offset. So where I need to move the reference line in order to achieve the correct position of the element. Okay? Right 50. And you will see that the element now it's in the correct position with the reference line correctly set up. And even if this is the outside, it was on this outside face. I simply move this wall from the original position to a new position. But this is always the outside face. I didn't flip. I simply moved the wall instead of the reference line. So the reference line is fixed, and I move the wall in order to find the correct position of the element. The last thing that I need to do is to connect this wall to the reference line. And in this way, everything is perfectly continuous. Do you want to see it again?
For me, it's all right. Understand it. Understood.
Okay. Thank you. Someone else? Okay. I will go. It's not a problem. I repeat without any issues. Okay. Situation. We are in this situation, okay? Where I have this wall here and these two walls not connecting, so there is no continuity between the materials, and you can recognize this not continuity by this black line. If you see this black line, this is an error, okay? So you know visually that there is something wrong, okay? We need to fix it. And to fix it, you need to understand how to fix it, okay? So the best way to avoid these things is to move the element in order to have the reference line connecting in a single point, and then offset the reference line from the wall in order to position the wall in the correct place and have the reference line strictly connected. To do these things, select the wall that creates the inconsistency, that is this one. Right click, move, drag, or use the shortcut. From now on, it will be the shortcut. I will use the shortcut. Find the snap of the intersection of the two elements and move it in that intersection. Extend the reference line, the wall, until we touch the intersection between the element, and we have all the elements intersect one each other, and there will be continuity. But the wall must be placed at 50 centimeters on the right. Okay, so I need to keep the reference line here and move the walls of 50 centimeters. To do these things, open the setting dialog, and here with the reference line there is the option reference line offset. Click 50, that is the dimension that we have found before, and click on OK. In this way, we have placed the element on the correct position of the reference line, so there will be continuity, but here this reference line will always support the outside face, and the outside face of the element will be my outside face that was originally, so this one, that it's simply translated of 50 centimeters in this direction. Simply that. Okay? And now the last thing that I need to do is to simply connect this wall to the other reference line. And in this way, everything is connected in terms of informatical and modeling part. Is it clear?
Yes.
Okay. Do you have any question about today? Do you want to see something again? I'm telling you, for me, it's more than enough today. Okay, I have fully reached what I want to show you So I have not anything left to show you for today. Also because you have to model this kind of things, and I do not want to overload of work. Okay, for me this is enough. If you do not have any question, we will see the next week in presence at Piacenza. Okay? So, thank you very much. Have a nice weekend. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
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 I will upload again the materials on WeBeep. Okay, I saw the answer, the question of Yasira. Hope that it's correct pronunciation. Sorry if it's not. I will upload again all the things with a guide. Okay? Today I will do everything. In the afternoon, you will see everything. Thank you. Bye.
Thanks. Bye.